fight fans, to episode 67 of the Hooked In MMA podcast. We've got a great episode ahead. First up, we're introducing our guest this week. He's fighting on the main card of Bellator 270 this Friday night in Dublin, Ireland. His name is Pedro Carvalho. He's facing off against Daniel Weichel, who's a Hooks In alum. It's a featherweight matchup here. Third to last fight of the night. So make sure to tune in and watch that, 2 p.m. Eastern. So it'll be a nice little happy hour main card to start off your weekend. Then, of course, getting ahead of that book with Easy Lines. Huge pay-per-view this weekend. It's UFC 268, Madison Square Gardens. We got Usman squaring off against Colby Covington. Of course, going to be recapping last week. Didn't do too well there on Easy Lines, but we're ready to bounce back and talk a bit about Chimaev's next fights and the press conference here this week. So Zoni, why don't you start things off, talk a bit about Pedro and his fight tomorrow, and we'll get right into it.
Yeah, so Pedro, obviously he's been in Bellator, I believe, if I'm not wrong, this is his 7th fight. He won his first 4, 3 of them by, amazing stoppages. And then obviously, he's entering the featherweight tournament, fighting the GOAT until AJ McKee came around and fighting, Pitbull. And that didn't go well for him. He talks a little bit about that in the interview, so make sure to tune in. He says how he came in with this mindset and thinking that he didn't need to totally respect Pitbull because of, the things that he's done, and he didn't want to give him that respect. But when you face somebody that's that great, like Pitbull, you absolutely have to give them the respect that they deserve. Otherwise, you pay for it, and he did. He then lost to JJ Wilson, so one of the best up-and-coming Bellator prospects. He might fight for the belt with one more win. So it's not like he's losing to bums, but he's got a big fight against Weichel here. Like you said, we've talked to Weichel before, and almost 55 fights. Be a fantastic matchup just before Gallagher and Patchy Mix fight, and then before the interim belt, Pitbull's brother, Tricky, and Peter Quayle, the hometown kid. So tune into that interview. Carvalho's a legit guy, and he wants to not get a 3-fight losing streak here. So big fight for him.
Beautiful. So why don't we look back at last weekend? Z, you can start us off with our little analysis of what went down, what went wrong, and looking ahead to what's next for some of these winners.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there was a couple of amazing performances across the board there last weekend. And, one of them, it's hard to stand out, but I think Chimaev was certainly the one that did that really kind of continued to create. There was already a buzz around him, obviously, even though he hadn't fought for over a year, I believe. And he put on an extremely impressive performance, literally picking up Li Jiang, bringing him over to Dana White, right, and having a conversation, telling him to get off his phone and to watch him as he continued to beat up Li. So that was quite awesome to see, exciting in terms of his prospects. But people, I don't think, really realize, really his talent, right? Because people just see this guy that just mauls people and just picks them up, throws them around, makes it look easy. But there's a lot of technique behind this and strategy. Like, I went back and watched that particular fight, and at the very beginning, you can tell he was very cautious of Lee's big right hand, which has knocked out other UFC fighters previously. I think he had 3 in a row or something. So, he was very cautious of that. And there was a center of the octagon. He went out and made his place in the center of the octagon. He made, put his stood his ground, so to speak, right? But he wasn't crossing over that one line. He was feinting, testing out, because he knew as soon as he crossed that kind of one center line, getting into more boxing range, Lee's going to fire that right hand. So he timed it perfectly. He was able to, download the data very quickly in a minute or so, and slip that right hand very easily, and then go down for the takedown, right? Or for the body lock, I believe it was, basically, and, threw him to the ground. So that for me was the biggest performance of the week. And coming up, I know they're talking about Nate Diaz, and I think that's just a dream fight for Dana White, basically setting up Chimaev off a big name. That's he's gonna, it's a nightmare matchup for Nate Diaz himself, but he might be forced into this by the UFC and the fans as well, actually, in terms of pressure online. This is the last fight on Nate Diaz's contract. He's already talked. There's apparently rumors going around about him doing boxing, fighting Jake Paul, all of these things. So it makes sense that the UFC might force his hand into fight him, just so they can build a name off another star to replace Nate Diaz as he goes to another sport or another promotion. So for me, that was the fight that had kind of the most storylines on the weekend.
How about you, Zoni? What do you think of last week's card? Any highlights for you?
Yeah, for sure. Fantastic card. We watched that together. Some fantastic matchups there. Just to add a couple things quick. Great analysis there, Z. What I think about with Chimaev when I saw him shoot against Lee is he actually set it up with those feints and the timing and the distance. Whereas if you compare it to the IQ of somebody like Ben Askren against Masvidal, he shot right away. He didn't set it up. It was so telegraphed. And that just shows kind of the momentum and all the IQ and the upside of Chimaev moving forward. Really like to see him hopefully fight Burns next. If it's not Diaz, that's a great matchup for him inside the top 5. And you're totally right about Diaz as well. I really do think he'll fight Jake Paul. If Jake Paul gets past Tyson Fury, Diaz was on his Tommy Fury, Tyson Fury's younger half brother. He will, I think, match up against Diaz. I think that's a money fight that Nate needs to take. In terms of last weekend, a few things stood out for me. The one, I'll give you a quick shout out, Kron's knockout by the underrated Michael Alexichuk. Not pronouncing it right because I'm not Polish, but this guy continues to be an underdog in terms of the betting lines, and he comes through every time. He's fantastic. The other one for me stood out. The worst reffing job in UFC history, I would say. Benoit Saint Denis was up against the cage, getting absolutely obliterated. I have no idea in the world how he didn't drop and just collapse into the abyss. He was getting absolutely destroyed by Zaleski, and unfortunately that went against our bets because we had Zaleski as an automatic knockout. Like that was one of our locks. That was my lock. So I was mad about the reffing, and I was mad for our bet because it really should have been stopped quite a bit earlier. And we talked about a few fights in the past. Max Rosehoff, remember that fight? His corner, letting stuff happen, letting him go back out and all that stuff, controversy. So that was a little bit disappointing. But in terms of my favorite fight on the card, I'd probably have to go with Chimaev as well. And just the main event, like Jan, big favorite, and it's just great to see 20 years later Glover's taking a picture with Dana White and talking about how he had visa issues for the Ultimate Fighter, couldn't get over, and it's like such a long career and a couple of decades put in to finally win a championship at early 40s. Like it's absolutely unbelievable. So I got to give him all the credit in the world, and really hope to see Yuri and Glover next.
Absolutely. That'd be great. I'll just call out some of my favorites. That Albert Duraev Roman Kopylov fight was incredible. We were thinking Duraev gets the finish, and this Kopylov guy gets his nose broken, getting crushed the first 2 rounds, and actually wins the 3rd fight. He broke Duraev's orbital. Yep. In just the heart of a lion. Mad props for Kopylov. I hope he bounces back and makes a name for himself.
Could I throw out a nickname we should be giving him?
Sure.
Robo-Kopylov.
Robocop. Looked like a fucking machine. Like, just like your confidence must be shattered. Physically, you're getting beat down, and then somehow wins the 3rd round. Just incredible. So good. Amanda Hebus, just really good performance. Like very slow start. She did lose that 1st round. I was thinking Jan Dobra was, almost lock. I saw the betting lines tilt in their favor, and then Hebus just, closed it out and got that W. So they
said too after round 1, Jan Dobra jumped up to a -1,000 favorite. So like
It
pretty
showed at the
pricey.
bottom, and I was like feeling so confident because we had her as a value dog play, and she just
She
faded, right?
faded. She faded. Yeah.
And that happens when you kind of overexert yourself first round. And honestly, Peter Yan, he just same thing. Started slow, so kind of found his range. Was doing kind of what Z-Ball said about Chimaev, setting up those takedowns with his stand game, and closed the distance on Sandhagen. The big ring didn't matter, and hell of a performance. He earned a lot of respect in my books, and fuck, man, he's going to be tough to beat.
He's tough
like,
to beat, man. He's
right.
I actually don't even think Dillashaw beats him. I really don't. But
we were chirping his strength of schedule, but like it actually might not even matter. He's beaten everyone that's in front of him. That's all that you need, right?
It's a great point. It's a great
point. Sterling will get a shot back, and I don't
he'll get destroyed.
Yeah. Don't see it changing unless something illegal happens. So
maybe he's taking the acting classes on the side. You never know.
It could be Second City. He's doing improv right now. I don't know, but great card all around. Nice feel good story seeing Glover get the win, and continue his legacy with the title defense here coming up. And hopefully we bounce back here and get some wins back in the win column for Easy Line. So why don't we slide into the presser that just happened today, talk a bit about that, and then we'll get into our best bets of the week here.
Yeah, I'll let you take the presser part, Z, but I just wanted to throw in before I forget, because I probably will. Short-term memory loss is a big problem these days. Our boy, Johan White Lion Lioness on Tuesday night Contender Series. I have to throw that in there. This guy was a huge dog. I saw like 10 minutes before the fight, it jumped up to like plus 400. I'm like, this is nuts. He's both undefeated. This guy we've talked to a couple times, nicest guy, and just goes out there and throws a left hook, knocks him out, and is screaming obliteratives at Dana White for like must have been 2 minutes, like just screaming, yelling, swearing, but like just so amped up for this opportunity. So I know we're all excited for him. Congratulations, and can't wait to see his first fight in the UFC. Like this guy is exciting to watch, and you never know, he could be Canada's next champion. We don't have a lot of guys that are up in the top 5 or 10, so you never know. This guy's got a lot of talent.
Congrats, White Lion. Well deserved, buddy. Z, Nerds and Virgins. What went down today?
Well, for me, it was one of the more entertaining press conferences of this year, for sure, at the very least. Obviously, Colby Covington doing his usual character, and Kamaru Usman actually playing into it a little bit sometimes, and kind of, making it a little bit more fun, right? Not taking it too seriously, although they were both, mainly Colby, taking the personal jabs, of course, trying to play that, I think, that little bit of that Conor McGregor angle that McGregor took against Habib there in the press conference as well. That's what it reminded me of, personally, at least a little bit. It was definitely, it was fun. Usman, had shoved him in the face off. He looked pretty ticked off. I don't know if that was all play or what exactly was happening there as well. But Colby certainly didn't look to expect it, but he liked it as well. It seemed it was all kind of fun and games building up to this great fight that they're going to have. I think it's going to be even more exciting than the first one. And the first one was great. I'll break it down a little bit more, but it was a fun press conference. Absolutely. And then Colby had a couple of lines. Yeah, they were corny, some of them, but hey, it was a bit more exciting than Michael Chandler's motivational speeches. So I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it or what your comments were.
Go ahead, Franz.
I thought it was, pretty jokes. I think it was a little bit set up, of course, but hey, it sounded like the crowd was really into it, and they were behind Colby, which usually I think of him as like the heel that everyone hates and roots against, but it seems like he's got a following now, and he's almost like a fan favorite, like one of those, what do you call them, anti-hero type figures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, like it'll be a good matchup stylistically and things. I was actually trying to like listen more to the Gaethje and Chandler back and forth, and they were a little more reserved, kind of dry, your run of the mill. But that fight, I'm really excited for. So
Yeah.
no, it's good. I think it's a great card coming up here, and it's nice. I love MSG. I think it's probably one of the best venues I've ever been to, and just a legendary. Just has that vibe to it, right? The prestige. So yeah, it's going to be a great event. Have a good feeling. Really
Hopefully one day can get there. That'd be awesome. So many legends, and they talk about that. Colby talks about Ali and Hulkamania. I actually loved when Colby chirped chirped the commentator of CFFC and told him to get on his knees and begged to ask a question because he was chirping him the day before, saying he didn't earn the title shot. That was hilarious.
Do push-ups.
Yeah, do 10 push-ups for me right now. Get on your knees. That was pretty funny. I also liked Wei Lee when they asked her a question. She put her arm around Colby and eventually Chandler and said, "I think I'm safe up here with these guys." So she was kind of having fun with it, which is awesome. She's likable as well. So, yeah, just Presser is scripted, but I think they did a good job with this one for sure.
Yeah, and you can't look into it too much. There's all these things like people try to like, oh, he pushed him, or he looked away first, or he looked scared. Like Poirier, I remember Poirier actually did look scared in his standoff with McGregor. Like just more like kind of just whatever, just more the big bright lights, right, type of thing, right? But as soon as you get into the octagon, like some guys just live in there, right? So it doesn't matter. Yeah, they're not as comfortable at press conferences. Very few of them are. It's a different type of skill set. Most of them are just fighters. So you can't take too much from it. But the ones that can, put on a bit of a show, it definitely makes it a little bit more exciting. But I'll jump into it now for the main easy line picks of the week. Last week, of course, had a bit of a tough week on easy lines here, going 1-3, making our career total 136 wins and 94 losses with a winning clip of 59.1%. Again, on that grind to 60% this year. Got the under to go on the Jan and Glover fight, but was incorrect completely on the Sandhagen and Jan fight. Jan, as we said, really impressed. Don't really see him being bested by Sterling or De La Shaw, which again we already kind of spoke about, but I digress. We're going into an amazing pay-per-view coming up this weekend with 2 title fights and a top contender fight, which is probably the most competitive division in all the UFC. First up, main event is welterweight championship fight, a rematch as well between the current champion Kamaru Usman and challenger in Colby Covington. Usman, heavy favorite really heavy favorite, actually, at -334, at least in my opinion. Colby underdog at +250. Main reason for this, I believe, is, obviously Usman finished Colby in the 5th round in the first fight. And since that time, Usman, seems to have really turned a corner in terms of his striking, finishing both Masvidal and Gilbert Burns. Whereas Colby has only fought once and that was over a year ago. It was a win against Tyron Woodley, who's taken a little bit of a downhill since his fight against Usman, right? Like he's really kind of gone downhill since then. So not a lot of people backing Covington at this point, at least in terms of the bettors, right? Maybe not in terms of the audience, but the betting money seems to be going more on Usman. But he definitely still has ways to win this fight, in my opinion. Taking a look at their first fight, it was very entertaining, stand-up fight where both guys were landing well on each other. Fun fight to watch, but not very technical, right? It looked like 2 wrestlers who were not experts in striking going at it. Neither one was willing to shoot a takedown and enter any type of grappling exchanges at all. It almost seemed like they were both afraid to kind of test themselves against one another. So they both just kind of completely avoided it completely. Usman being the bigger man, though, longer reach, slightly crisper straight punches, which he's even improved on in the last 2 years as well, working with Trevor Whitman. He's able to land the more devastating blows on Colby in the first fight, and the ref had no choice but to stop it. But Colby still wanted to go, right? He was even arguing with the ref at the end of the fight that he wanted to continue with that broken jaw. a testament to his toughness and willing to go to deep waters with Usman. So I don't see any problems there. If Colby wants any chance of winning this fight, he'll have to use more of his kicks and his offensive attack. He did this in the Woodley fight to much effectiveness, really put the pressure on Usman this way. Colby is the one that's going to have to initiate these grappling and go for the takedowns, right? If Usman doesn't shoot and doesn't test them, Colby's the one that's going to have to do it. If they don't land, keep trying again and again. They don't have to land. You just have to get Usman thinking about it. If your opponent is more on the defense, he's not thinking about his offense as much. Colby, you're going to have to live up to his nickname in chaos, and really put a lot of things out there for Usman to think about. Because if you allow Usman to kind of settle in and put a pace on you and pressure you, I don't think there's any man in this division at this point that's getting out, except maybe Chimaev. Who knows, right? That's probably in another year or so, but we'll see. But for me, I don't think it's going to be enough. I've seen Usman really turn a corner the last 3 fights, training with Trevor Whitman. His striking has improved immensely. I'm sure Colby's has as well. But we haven't really seen it right as much. So he's going to have to do a lot more things, get a lot more things going in order to, have this fight swing his way. Whereas Usman just kind of has to keep doing what he's been doing. So it is a tough fight to call. I mainly in terms of the exact finish, I do like Usman to win, but minus 334, there's no value there, right? So I mainly like the over in this fight. Over 2.5 rounds is minus 188 on Bet365. Maybe Usman gets a finish, but I don't see it happen in the first half of the fight for me. And obviously Colby not doing it either, or at least I don't see it happening. So I'm a little bit surprised by how big of a favorite Usman is, though. Colby was quite actually successful those first 2 rounds of the first fight, and he certainly has the tools to make it a close fight. He just has to use it correctly and just use his tools correctly and have the right game plan. So him by decision here, plus 500, Colby. I don't mind that as a value bet. If you are one of those Colby fans out there, hit that, but can't fault anyone for taking Usman by finish at plus 120. Him in the 3rd round as well is plus 1400. Or actually, maybe not 3rd round. I like 4th round Usman plus 1400 as well. But yeah, what are you guys thinking for this one?
I'm with you on that. I'll just say quickly, Trevor Whitman, obviously, cornering, coaching three big fights. Moved the Gaethje fight up against Chandler so that he could prepare for the 2 title fights. Good on him for that. The other thing that you said stands out for me is in that first fight, and I'm throwing this out to give some props to GSP. That Usman was a little bit hesitant to try and take Colby down. GSP would never be hesitant to take down anyone. So that just shows the level of IQ and career success. So, you said it perfectly because that's exactly what happened in that first fight. But totally on board with you with the over. I actually really like the value of the 4th round finish and Colby Covington by decision. I can't argue with any of that. It's perfect.
Yeah, I'm going. My personal pick is Usman 4th round finish. So loving that. Z. Looking back to the last fight, I see that Colby was a plus 175 dog. So you're right. To get another 75 cents there to go up to plus 250 is pretty big. That's substantial, right? That's another multiplier on your bet. So could be some sneaky value there. I think that's because of Usman's dominant performances his last few times out. So there's that recency bias going into his line. But, I don't think I'll be doing Usman money line. I don't think there's much value. So probably the 4th round looks really good at plus 1400 and a little bit on that plus 120 by finish. So
I like that one. I like plus 120 by finish. That's where I'll be at.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one. Obviously, you're not getting as much value as all those other things, but most likely and it's decent. Plus 120. I mean, he has finished his last 2 fights, right? So you would think maybe that should really be minus 105, right? Because he did finish him in the first fight as well, right? So it's yeah, there's a lot, there's definitely money to be made somewhere there. Exactly where, it's, that's why it's gambling, but it's definitely seems to be a little bit too much on that money line for Usman. Everywhere else though, I definitely see some plays being made there. But coming up for the co-main event, obviously we got another title fight here, strawweight fight. Strawweight championship fight, another great rematch, right, between current champion Rose Namajunas and Zhang Wei Li. Rose actually currently the underdog, right, sitting at plus 100, whereas the challenger is actually a slight favorite at minus 125. To me, a little surprising as well here, to given the result of the first fight. Rose had an amazing head kick finish on her in the first round. Wei Li just was so powerful and dominant up until she met Rose. So I think there's a lot of lingering confidence there from the bettors. Rose's opportunity, of course, to win is going to be on the outside again, using her amazing footwork and movement to set up those angles to catch Wei Li's chin again when she's not expecting it. Wei Li to win, she's going to have to come in and get in close boxing range, look to push her up against the fence and really bully her in the clinch. If she tries to play too much on the outside with Rose, it's going to be very dangerous. Or even to play that jiu-jitsu game with her. Again, Rose is very slick down there, so quite a risk for Wei Li. She's going to have to live in that middle boxing range, looking to initiate clinches and dirty box. I expect Wei Li to come in much more cautious this time around, be more respectful of Rose's accuracy and ability to strike with her. My fear is that she ends up being a little too hesitant to pull the trigger, because of this knockout on her, and she ends up hanging around in that outside range for too long, trying to, create a scenario where she can enter that middle boxing range, and she ends up getting TKO'd again herself. So I'm personally, this is the toughest one of the entire card to call. Of course, the odds is basically a pick 'em, right? So it makes sense, but I'm going to have to go with Rose Namajunas here with that value. Her by finish plus 250 is looking all right to me. Her by third or fourth, I think maybe it might end up being a 4th round finish plus 2200. Another 4th round I like here. Or, if you don't agree with me as much and you want to go on decision, Rose plus 333, I like that as well. I haven't quite decided on what I'm getting on there, but I'll probably have a sprinkle on a little bit of both, obviously, but like a plus 22, right? But yeah, Rose I'm taking in that one. The over 2.5 rounds minus 200. Parlay that with the over in the first round, right? If we get both of those together, let me see. I'm going to do it right now. If we get both of those over 2.5 minus 188 minus 200, you get plus 129. So that's a nice bet right there, I think, to put a unit or two on, 2 overs. But yeah, what are you guys thinking for this one?
Yeah, it is the toughest one. Honestly, as I said earlier this week, I was all on Wei Li. She could still win. I don't know, man. Like, I'm gonna go with Rose based on footwork and what she's done in the past. I have this weird feeling it's gonna go to decision this time. That head kick was fairly quick. And it was perfect timing. Her hands were down. She was expecting leg kick or like a liver kick or something, and hands were down. That kind of mistake's not going to happen again. What's it pay for it to go to a decision? Like not pick
minus 120. I'm looking. Yeah, minus 120.
I think that's my
exactly
pick.
50,
minus
50.
minus 120 for it to go to a decision. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I agree with you both. I think that first fight, it was almost a freak finish. Like it surprised us. Fucking Rose was a plus 175 dog. I remember we took her on easy lines and it was a great fucking scoop, but we didn't really see it coming. So I agree with Z. They're going to be a little more cautious this time around. And here's my logic for Rose via decision, plus 333, which is great value. The champion needs to be beat by the judges' scorecards. These girls, it's a coin flip. It's a pick 'em fight.
Right.
I could easily see it being 3-2 or maybe 4-1, maybe a split. But usually the judges side with the defending champ, right? You gotta unthrone the champ to actually win that decision. And for that reason, Rose by points, I think is just amazing value. I mean, $12 pays $52. Like that's just
Might as well.
I don't know. It seems a little bit too juicy, but we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that's great. 4 times your money, right? So
yeah.
You don't get this in football or something, betting on
No
football
kidding.
or whatever, right?
Nowhere
So,
near as juicy.
so if you parlay a couple
Looks like
of
we
things-
got 5 minutes left, just to give you a heads up.
Yeah, no worries. I don't have too much for the Gaethje Chandler fight. Just other than, it's going to headline the pay-per-view, as we said, people's main event, top contender fight in the lightweight division. Justin's a favorite at minus 210. Chandler's underdog plus 175. Again, I think there's value on the underdog here. I definitely, it could go either way, in my opinion. I definitely see, Chandler plus 30, again, another 333 here. Chandler by finish, 333. That seems like great value to me. I can see Gaethje winning this fight. Absolutely, getting a second round finish. But Chandler, there seems to be some value there. I also like the over in this fight, but over 1.5. That's it, right, guys? Over one. That's what's halfway through the second round. Minus 125. I could see end of second round, third round finish here. But yeah, what are you guys thinking for this one?
I'm just gonna throw a quick. I absolutely love Michael Chandler, and I absolutely love Justin Gaethje. I don't know in the world how this ends outside of 15 minutes. Chandler almost and probably should have been, or no, he did get knocked out, by Oliveira. He almost finished Oliveira first, but he got finished by Oliveira, and Gaethje has about 14 times more of the power.
Right.
Somebody's going to get caught, and they said it's going to be a finish. So I for this not to go the distance, I don't know what that pays, but it's not going the distance.
Minus 275. Right?
There's
That's
no
the
way
thing.
it's going the distance.
That's
no
what I
way.
like too, but in terms of what's going to happen, but
Parlay
there's
it with
value
something
there. Yeah, true.
Parlay it to not go the distance with like Rose by
overs
decision and Usman by finish. Like, what does that pay? Like, that would be that might be the bet that I make, actually.
Yeah, because all those together, those three is a plus 1,200. Wowzers.
Yeah, that's my play right there.
Put 25 on that. It's
Oh,
325.
talking mortgage payments here, friends.
Yeah, put 2,500 on there. But yeah, no. So that one is that's the only one, or that's the ones that I had the main kind of analysis for here, boys. What are you guys thinking?
I'll say some other just kind of
Cons, go ahead, and then I'll jump in after you.
Super quick. So we bet on him before. We've taken him on easy lines. Billy Q, really like his plus 162 money line dog value. Gonna go with him money line. Also liking Chito Vera, who's facing off against Frankie Edgar, who seems to be a shell of himself, his past self. So I'm going with Chito at minus 163. And then actually one of my favorite fighters, just an up-and-comer, Phil Hawes. Really like this guy. His power is outstanding. I think he gets the finish, and that's paying only plus 105, but anything plus for him finish, I think is great. How about you, Zoni?
Yeah, that last one stuck a dagger in me, and I'll explain why in a quick sec. But we'll go back a little bit here. Ian Gary's one of the big up-and-coming hype trains that the UFC has. I believe in that hype train. I think a second round finish. I think Jordan Williams gets out of the first. A second round finish for a value bet is plus 450. Absolutely love that one. Couple more here. We have actually the hardest. You know how we talked about Nama Yunus and Wei Li being the hardest. If we're talking prelim hardest to pick, Ally Aquina and Bobby Green. Fantastic fight. No idea what's going to happen. So watch that. We'll see what happens, but I'm not giving any suggestions. Just almost an impossible fight to pick. Alex Pereira, obviously well known for knocking out Israel a little while back, but I like him by finish. It's -110. It's his debut. He's going to come out. He's going to do something like Yuri and absolutely destroy Michailidis. Michailidis is not very good, in my opinion, for that level. And I love Shabazian. He's a +100 dog, money line. Love him to get a win here. Lost his last two, but the guy's sky is the limit for his skill set. And the last one here is the one that Kronz was saying here. I guess we'll throw it as a value bet because
let's do it.
next up on the Hooks In MMA podcast, we're lucky to have on 11-5 featherweight, and he's got a big fight coming up on November the 5th against Daniel Weichel. Pedro Carvalho, how's it going today?
How's it going, man? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. We appreciate it. I know you're tuned into some Bellator right now. There's UFC fights going on. It's a fight weekend, and it just keeps on rolling here. So get to see Fedor a little later today, but let's talk about you. How are things been, and how's training been leading up to this fight?
Camping good, camping really good. Everything is going way better than planned. I'm in a really good spot. Weight is good. Everything is perfect, and I'm really excited for this one because I for some reason, like, something was always up, and I never had a chance to fight in Dublin. So finally, I'm getting the chance to fight in what I consider my home crowd. So yeah, I'm super excited for this one and can't wait.
Yeah. So you fought pretty regularly on the Portuguese regional scene, and then you've been very successful in Bellator. Just speak to what got you into MMA and how it was to finally sign with a big promotion like Bellator.
For me, MMA was easy. Once I saw for the first time ever a MMA fight, I fall in love for the sport, and then later I found out that I had an MMA team in my town, so it was an easy thing. And then the years go by. In the meanwhile, I became a professional, and the goal was always the same. I want to be the best. I want to be training and fighting among the best. And so the decision, was almost, inevitable of moving of country and team. And of course, the SVG just was almost, automatically on the options. And yeah, this was back in 2016. And it was the best decision of my life. I was looking for a team. I ended up finding a family. The way they received me from day one and supported me and treated me, the pro MMA team, and even just everyone around, it was just so good. I never felt that I was outside my home or my country. I always felt at home, and that's why I also carry the Irish flag with me every time I do the walk. So yeah, and then I knew that I just have to keep training and do what I do best, and eventually a half of a chance of opportunity will show up, and that's all I need. And that's what happened. In 2018, I got a one fight deal to fight on Bellator 200, and that was it. The rest is history.
Yeah, and I was born in Canada. I'm Canadian, but I do have some Irish and German heritage. And you're fighting,
Nice.
a German in your next fight here, so I'm going to be a little bit split. But no, I'm talking to you, so I'll cross my fingers for you. So you started Bellator. You were 4-0. You had 3 fantastic finishes, and then obviously you fought one of the greatest of all time for sure. And then your next fight, a really good prospect. So just I'm not bringing it up because I'm bringing it up, but I really just want to know your mentality after a couple of losses, after starting out so successfully. What kind of mentality do you bring into this next one here? Do did you go to work differently after that last loss, or, you know, just speak to inside the mind of a fighter coming off a loss, essentially?
So, you know, the thing was, going back to the Patricio fight, at that stage, my confidence was off the roof, and it got on the stage that it was kind of poisoning, in the way that it's like you need to be really confident, but you also need to be real, you know, because the dangerous fact is always there. And when you are fighting one of the best of all time, that Patricio, deservedly that title, you need to respect him. And I didn't that. And I remember when the fight was about to start, I was so away from the reality that I just like, you know what, fuck the game plan. I'm just gonna rush this guy and I'm gonna knock him out in the first round. And you know, I screw everything. You know, I didn't follow the game plan. I didn't follow nothing. I didn't, you know, respect him at all. Respect his power on his hands, and I just rushed him. And you know, it happened when it happened. And then, so you know, I lost, and then I made another mistake on top of another mistake, that I was so desperately like want to put that loss on my back. I just rushed so fast in getting to another fight, and I should have given myself time, you know. But yeah, but that's what I did. And then at the time, I was actually supposed to fight Daniel Weichel at that time, and then he got COVID, and they got replaced by JJ Wilson. And then because I was in camp in Dublin, I missed the born of my daughter, so I couldn't meet her. I had a daughter, and I didn't meet, and I knew that I only was able to meet after the fight, so it was like kind of 3 weeks that I was away. And then at that time, the Irish government put US on the red list of countries to travel. So I lost 2 of my guys on my corner, so I had to fight alone. And then when I was there, I lost, you know, again, the last piece of my corner is John Kavanagh, the head coach, because of COVID as well. So I found myself alone in US on fight week. And, you know, I should just be kind of reasonable and just say, you know what, I'm just going to back it up. But no, I just kept going, say everything's going to be fine. It's going to be everything going to be okay. And, you know, first round was okay. I thought I'd win, but it was kind of close. And then he can't, I don't know why. I don't know, you know, he just had that light that I needed to try a spinning fist out of the bell, and he hit me well. And after that spinning fist, like I was, my brain was completely aware, but all my body was kind of disconnected, like the balance, you know, was completely, straight away I went survival mode. And you know, the stoppage was almost inevitable. And yeah, that was the biggest lesson that I learned. Now, going to answer to your question, that was the biggest lesson that I learned. Like some aspects and some things. And looking back, I just wasn't ready to that second fight. I was just mentally, I wasn't ready because I didn't give myself time. And that's what I did. You know, after the fight, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna fight maximum November, December, and that's it. I'm not gonna fight anytime soon. I'm just gonna give myself time. For the first time, I'm gonna put MMA on second or third place. I'm just gonna enjoy my family. I don't want to even hear about MMA. And you know, that was the best thing that I did. I'm a way better fighter because I just started to saw things that I wasn't given attention at all, because like I've said before, my confidence was so much off the roof that I just thought like everything is okay. So I just kept doing the exactly same thing week after week. And my evolution, my improvements just stagnated because, you know, I wasn't trying nothing new because, you know, there was that thing like everything is great. And no, And their losses also gave me the focus to focus on new things, to focus on changing my own game, the way that I fight, you know. So I'm a completely different fighter skill wise, and mentally I feel that I'm just way more mature, you know. I'm just not even though I'm still young, I'm 26, but I feel that it's never good to lose. It's never, and never will be. But that losses brought me maturity, and a maturity that I think will be really, really needed to accomplish my goals that I have for my future. You know, and I'm 100% confident that I'm gonna put the best performance of my career November 5th against a very tough opponent, very experienced opponent. But that's what gonna make it special, because he is who he is, and I'm just going out there and showcase what I have to everyone.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. It sounds like a great combination of things that you've kind of put together before this next fight. So, yeah, just what do you think of him as an opponent, Daniel Weichel, coming up here in the next few weeks?
Weichel is, of course, you just see his record. You can straight away see that he's a very experienced fighter. He fought the biggest names in Bellator. Is one of the biggest names in Bellator, or the oldest names in Bellator. Skill wise, is the thing about Weichel is he doesn't have like an area where he's like extraordinary.
Yep.
But he's super consistent. He I think I never saw a fight of him where he's fighting bad. You know what I mean? He's consistent.
Yep.
And he always like to have that very technical fight. You know, he's not a brawler. He's not you will not engage in a brawl. Doesn't matter how much you bring. You always be very cool and try to be very technical. And that has some advantage and also disadvantage. There's some aspects that I will for sure explore. But at the same time, when you fight a guy that is so consistent and so technical, you just have to be aware, because a silly mistake might cost you a fight, or at least a round.
Yes.
So you have to be always aware. But overall, I think I have it pretty well covered, and it will be a one-side fight, or will be a pretty good war to have.
I can't wait for that. Yeah, our last segment here is called Between Rounds. I'm going to ask you some questions. You give me your best answer, okay?
I'll try.
What's your favorite sport other than MMA?
So your soccer. I don't say soccer. I would say football, but to you to know,
football.
Soccer.
Yeah, awesome. So you're a Cristiano fan, Portuguese?
Oh man, like of course I'm Portuguese. I'm gonna always support my fellow countrymen, but at the same time, I admire Cristiano more because of his work ethic, because I mirror so much on him, because that's how I got my life. You know, it's all about work, because I never consider myself a natural skill guy. You know, I remember when I started MMA, I was one of the worst guys. I consider myself one of the worst guys on the mats, and so I had to work every single day extra hard than everyone else so I can top them. And that was the story of my career so far. I am what I am because of my work ethic. And Cristiano is the same thing. Is the best ever because he worked his ass off. So that's why I admire him so much.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What about your favorite cheat meal after a fight?
Oh, so many. Pizza. 100 pepperoni pizza. That's the go-to.
The go-to. What's your favorite spot in Portugal? I haven't been there, that you would tell me to go to check out.
My city, Guimarães, was the foundation of my country. Was there. That's where all the country and the kingdom started. Was from there. The first king of Portugal. We still have the castle. We still have the residence of the kings, where they sleep and everything. And the city center is historical. And everything is kind of preserved, to stay old. So it's historical and beautiful city. It's a small city. It's not too big, but it's pretty beautiful.
And do you have a favorite country that you've traveled to other than, I guess, like America?
For myself, yeah. I would say that the one that was the most, it was one of the best experience of my life, and it was doing MMA, so it was extra special. Was Iceland. Iceland was amazing. Was one of the best experience that I had, was being able to visit Iceland on Gunnar Nelson gym. So it was amazing.
That's
Iceland
fantastic.
I will recommend Iceland to everyone.
Awesome. Yeah. If I can get there one day, I would love to. I've heard good things. So I'm glad you said that. Any sponsors, shout outs, or social media to finish up?
To be honest, I always like to take this moment of shout out to pretty much just do a shout out to every single one that supports me, you know, over these years, especially from my country. It's been so amazing to see the amount of people that gets behind me, and not only supports me because I'm Portuguese, but also they identify with you know with my character, with who I am, and they know that I speak from the heart. So they always get behind me, and I feel so blessed and grateful. So my shout out is to every single one, to no matter what, keep supporting me, and I always have a nice word to say to me. So it's to them.
So it's only going to be up from here. We're going to start that new win streak on November 5th. And
Yes.
we're going to be crossing fingers for you. And good luck,
Thank you.
sir. Pedro Carvalho, this is Hooks in MMA. Thanks so much, bro.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.